On today's episode of the Ango Show, we're going to talk about some great news for WWE and a debut. We're going to talk about some huge news for TNA and so much more. That's coming up right here on TAS. Yes. Welcome back to the Ango Show. I want to kick things off with MVP. We already discussed that MVP is seemingly on his way out of the WWE, but now today there is some more news surrounding MVP because he took to Instagram and posted a picture of his boots with the caption that they have been dusted off. Now, obviously, when it comes to MVP, he has been outspoken on Instagram in regards to Triple H and his booking. A lot of people on social media have obviously not been too thrilled with MVP and the way that he's conducted, the way that WWE has conducted business in regards to the booking of him and the Hurt business. I think it's very obvious that with MVP, he will continue wrestling. Now the question is where. Now in yesterday's video, we spoke about this a little bit more directly about the fact that there is no secret that MVP and Bobby Lashley want to bring back the Hurt business and may be willing to do that in AEW. And as much as I love the Hurt business, I do feel as if maybe that could be a bad idea because I feel like AEW should be coming up with new creative ideas, not necessarily recycling things that were happening in WWE, which we all know they've done that before with the Undisputed Era. And I think MVP is a great talent, man. I think he's a veteran. I think he is somebody that you would want to listen to and somebody you can learn from. This is a guy who has been a pretty damn awesome talent in WWE. I love what he did when he was in TNA. Personally speaking, I don't know if I really want to see MVP in AEW doing the Hurt business. If anything, I would love to see Bobby Lashley and MVP work together in TNA. I think when you look at the world title scene for TNA, it's been pretty damn awesome to watch in the last year and a half. And I think if you brought in Bobby Lashley, that just helps bring credibility to them. Obviously, we know TNA is looking for a TV deal. We know that TNA is looking at making moves. You bring in Bobby Lashley and MVP together, I think that is a huge win. Obviously, we don't know what's happening with Shelton Benjamin. There was talks of him going to AEW. That hasn't happened yet. So these are all things to obviously consider. Now, with that being said, though, MVP continuing his in-ring career, I think is a good thing. I think even if he just did the independents, I think there's a lot of stuff that people could learn from him. It is kind of unfortunate that we have seen throughout time that MVP, for the most part in WWE has just kind of been like an on-screen character, but not necessarily wrestling. So that is something that, I think with him wrestling again, I just think it's an overall positive thing. I do see more value of him being in a group. I do see more value of him, being a manager, but that is largely due to the fact that I just have a lot of respect for him in that role. So very, very interesting stuff to obviously pay attention to, and we will see what happens. That brings us to our next topic, TNA. Obviously, Nick Nemeth won the TNA World Championship. A lot of people are wondering what the hell is going to happen with this company because somebody on the internet keeps posting these narratives that just maybe TNA, might be canceling shows and whatever. Now today, TNA Wrestling has announced updates to their event schedule. Very interesting. A lot of great news here. So TNA is headed to Fayetteville, North Carolina on November 8th and 9th at Crown Arena. TNA will return to Center Stage in Atlanta, Georgia on December. They will be in Louisville August 30th through the 31st. They'll be in South Carolina as well on September 27th through the 28th. And they will be headed to San Antonio, Texas on September 13th and 14th. So for me, this is great news. Like we're getting a lot of transparency with their announcements. They're going to different markets that they haven't necessarily hit in a very, very long time. They are doing bigger arenas or bigger venues, I should say. Obviously, that's just altogether very positive. There is rumors that TNA is going to be doing more international shows, which obviously that excites me for a variety of reasons. Part of growing your business is going to different venues and trying different things and being able to accomplish things, a little bit differently. I think one of the big concerns I've had about TNA was like, hey, when are you going to try and do something different? Now, keep in mind, last year we were talking about TNA's plans to do more stuff like this, and it's starting to finally happen. It took a little bit longer, but it is happening. So I think that's a step in the right direction. I think that's great news for TNA. I'm glad that there is a demand for people to want to watch their shows and to be able to kind of just, like, studio based wrestling is good, don't get me wrong, but I like the idea that this is something where people can kind of, more people could experience the TNA experience. And that's my point. That's what excites me. So we'll see obviously how it goes down. I'll keep you guys updated along the way. And when we get the international show announcements, I'll be bringing them to you on this channel. And that brings us to our final topic of today's video. I have a very, very strong feeling that this could be really good because Julia is expected to be at WWE's live house show loop in Osaka and Tokyo, Japan this week, July 25th through the 27th. WWE is headed to Japan, and Julia has said to Tokyo Sports that she is going to see it. Now, obviously, WWE has had Julia in attendance for WWE NXT, but now I'm getting a very strange feeling that this could very, very well be similar to the Stephanie Vaquer situation, which I think would actually be really dope. I think this would be a really, really cool idea for WWE. When you have new signings and you're going to a city or on a house show loop in the country of origin from where that talent is, from, I think it's actually a smart idea to put them on the show in some capacity. Obviously, with Julia, you got to factor in injury and stuff like that. But for the most part, it seems like we are getting very, very close to Julia making her presence known in the WWE. When WWE went to Mexico City and they did that with Stephanie Vaquer, immediately after the WWE Raw, after they literally showed photos of her, they mentioned her debut, they mentioned her being the newest signing. And I think WWE should do the same exact thing with Julia, regardless of how she appears in front of the fans. Obviously, she's still doing stuff with Marigold, and Rossi Agawa's got her working over there, but WWE is also building a relationship with Marigold. So this is like a perfect scenario for WWE. And I really want to talk about that for a second. The perfect scenario. If you're the WWE and you're in a situation where you are bringing in a new signing and you're going to Japan, or you're going to Mexico, or you're going to France, or you're going to Germany, and you're bringing a talent from that country, the big thing that you should be doing is celebrating that talent joining your company to allow the fans of that area to know that you actually value this signing, right? It's one of the big things I used to talk about, like in my early days of YouTube, was when there was a new signing and you don't build them up and they just kind of come in and like, that's it, right? Obviously, in professional wrestling today, every company has been doing this so well, where like AEW, WWE, and TNA, like they actually make a big deal out of a signing. Okay, I'm not talking about booking. I'm just talking about like the overall idea of like, hey, we signed this person, right? AEW did the whole thing where it's like you get the graphic that says you're all elite. WWE just did it with Stephanie Vaquer. Obviously, it wasn't a graphic, but hey, welcome to the NXT family, WWE family. They did it with Julia for WrestleMania and NXT Takeover, and then obviously they did it with Jade Cargill as well when she came into the company with the headlines and the TMZ articles and all these articles of her joining the company. I like that professional wrestling has gotten to a point where they are making a big deal out of signings, because it was one of the things I loved about professional sports. When a free agent signs with an NBA team or an NFL team, like I think it just creates a little bit more hype. So for Julia going to WWE, I want to see them do that. Obviously, she's going to be making her debut in some capacity. How will she do it? I don't know. But obviously, I have a very strong feeling it's going to be like Stephanie Vaquer. So very, very cool to see WWE going this route. And then obviously, I look forward to when she makes her TV debut, like actual in-ring debut for WWE NXT. I'm guessing it's going to be closer to the debut of CW Network, but we'll see how that all transpires. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Ango Show.